Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brian and Dylan's Take on the World. I am your co-host Dylan. I am here with my hostess with the mostest, the sick boy himself, Brian. Brian, how we doing there, Brian?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. Like you said, I'm a little sick, so if you guys hear sniffles well, more sniffles than fucking normal for me,
Yes.
because I'm just allergic to everything, apparently. But no,
Yes.
I'm a little under the weather, but you know what? I wouldn't miss this show. You know what I'm saying? How are you
Yes.
doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I've uh I've had a good day. I saw Spider-Man again last night for the second time. Uh, I'm feeling good. I'm excited for today. Excited to talk to you, my buddy.
Word. Yeah, me too, man. So, Spider Man, you saw it again, which is perfect because, of course, that's what we're covering in this episode.
Sure is. We're covering everything Spider-Man.
So, would you say it was worth going to see a second time before we get into any like non-spoiler or anything like that?
Um. oh yeah, hell yeah. First off, I'm not sure if you've been on the internet today. Have you seen the video of the short guy in like the bagel shop?
I I have seen that video.
It might be my all-time favorite video on Twitter.
Oh
That
man, that was a lot. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a short guy going the fuck off in a bakery or a
with
bagel place. I don't know what it's properly called.
the line of you're not God, my father, or my boss might be my all-time favorite line in any video ever. That is the funniest fucking video I think I've ever seen.
I
But
mean, it's applicable. You can use that anywhere. Anytime someone tries to tell you something to do. Yeah.
here it
Your mouth. You're not God or my father or my boss.
or his boss. Oh my god, it's the fucking funniest
I like
video
how he
I've ever
threw
seen.
that in. When I was watching, I was like, I wonder if he thought like, okay, people are recording this, people are gonna see this. I'm still gonna yell that, but I need to protect my job, so my boss needs to have my back. So I'm gonna throw that one in there too.
Yeah, that's tough. And then he gets taken down by
Oh my
like
god.
Christian Leitner's like dad, in like in like some old ass like New Balances with some crinkled up socks. That video's awesome. I've legitimately seen it like 3 times today. Oh
It
man.
was really great on Twitter. It was like I saw someone I followed like retweeted it. I watched it, and then like 10 other people in a row, like uninterrupted tweets, also had retweeted it.
It's all I've seen. It's all I've seen on Twitter.
Yeah, it's
This isn't exactly movies or TV, but it's all I've seen on Twitter. Another thing I've seen on Twitter today, which if you're listening to this, I'm assuming it's probably like Friday. I don't know. Uh, the early reactions for Lion King have come out, and it's apparently very, very, very good.
ooh. All right, good do tell. So I haven't seen the early reactions yet, other than you telling me a little bit about them. So let's get into that a little bit. What are people saying?
Yeah, so I mean, the thing I've seen them, and I don't think the Rotten Tomato score is released until I think 9:30 tomorrow morning. And if we're recording this Wednesday night, so tomorrow morning would be Thursday morning. So,
Right.
like I said, when you're listening to this now, the Rotten Tomato scores are probably already released.
Mm.
But I guess people are saying that Seth Rogen and Billy on the Street, Billy Eichner, steal the show as Timon and Pumbaa,
Mm.
which I don't find that hard to believe. I was very much looking forward to seeing them. I guess Donald Glover as Simba is just fucking unbelievable.
Mm.
Him and Beyonce's singing together is, as you would imagine, incredible. I heard mainly the special effects is just it's revolutionary. I guess it's just fucking insane.
Right.
It's I'm very much looking forward to see it. I could see like it's basically an entire movie that's all CGI. Like I don't know, like even Avatar had like real people in it. Like an entire movie of all CGI. That's fucking wild.
Mhm.
And they're redoing an anime. They're basically doing a highly upgraded animated movie, and apparently it works. It's a half hour longer than the original Lion King, which was basically like a perfect movie.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to this. I'm now feeling good about my $2 billion prediction because apparently it doesn't suck, and it's better than it doesn't suck. Apparently it's really good. I'm also gonna guess if we can play a quick game real quick. I'm gonna guess that the Rotten Tomatoes score is gonna sit somewhere around like a 93.
93. Yeah, I would. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, especially with people saying it's pretty great right now. I also would feel pretty comfortable if I were you about you winning the bet between us in terms of what the highest grossing movie of the summer will be, especially when you consider Aladdin is still going strong. So that probably speaks to people being interested in these remakes, to a huge degree. And this will probably have legs as well.
So, your pick for what's going to be the highest grossing movie of the summer, and that's usually probably like the highest grossing. Well, actually, nothing's going to be Avengers, so I take that back. But
Right.
let's see where Spider-Man is currently sitting.
I have it right now as of July 9th. 211 million, around there.
No, no. So you're looking at domestic. It's
Oh,
actually world.
so worldwide is actually 603 million.
Yes, that's
That's pretty
the
good.
numbers we go
That's
by.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably going to cross $1 billion. Especially because this weekend there's no Lion King. Lion King comes out next weekend.
Mhm.
This is probably the weekend where it's going to be able to make its final push, because then it's Lion King next weekend, and then in 2 weeks it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then
Right.
Hobbs and Shaw and all that shit.
Mhm.
So I think you'll get to $1 billion, but I think my Lion King movie's going to do it.
Yeah, and I mean Marvel. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I did watch a YouTube video, so take this with a grain of salt. That said, Marvel and Sony have a deal that if either of the two Spider-Man movies they produce crosses $1 billion, that they get to make a third one as Marvel, and the rights don't revert automatically back to Sony.
Okay.
So this is good. We want it to cross $1 billion because we want Spider-Man to stay in the MCU. This is the end of his original deal. So he had a deal for 3 shared movies, which is Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, and 2 standalones, with the caveat that if Homecoming or Far From Home crossed $1 billion at the box office, they would be able to make a third one.
Interesting. Well, I think we're sitting pretty then.
Yeah, I think we should be good.
400. I mean, basically, Foreign basically did 400 million just last week. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. And I guess that can kind of segue us into what we're talking about today, which is why everyone's here. Shout out Brian Wong. I'm gonna give him a quick shout out before he signs off.
We have to,
Brian
yes.
Wong. This is the podcast he's been waiting for all year.
Is Brian a big Spider-Man fan?
Oh yeah, I it's his favorite superhero, I believe.
Hey, I get that, man. Spider-Man's dope.
Brian Wong's birthday present to me, shout out Brian Wong, was a Funko Pop of Mysterio.
Oh,
Very cool.
Very nice and good for this movie, especially.
He falsely pitched to me that it was glow in the dark, and it's not. So.
Oh, well, disappointing, but we'll forgive you, Brian.
So, all right, let's get into it. Non-spoiler discussion quickly of Spider-Man: Far From Home. Brian, I usually go first. Why don't you go first? Give me your thoughts on this movie.
All right, so I thought this movie was incredibly enjoyable. I thought it built really well off of Homecoming and also very well off of Endgame. It feels like a true sequel to both of those. It also feels like a sequel to another Marvel movie, which I won't drop since this is spoiler free, but when we get into the spoiler section, I definitely want to touch on that. I think like Tom Holland is the perfect Spider-Man. I think he just really solidifies it with this role. We got a great version of Mysterio, which is, what more can you ask for with that? He's a pretty iconic villain, or hero in this movie. You don't know. And he was just played incredibly well by Jake Gyllenhaal. And yeah, man, I loved this movie personally. What did you think?
Yeah, I know. I liked it a lot. I've seen it 2 times now. My score has slightly dropped since the first time I saw it. I think when I first saw it was about a 93 out of 100. I've actually dropped it down to just a flat 90 out of 100.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, very good. We're actually later on in the episode going to do a ranking of all these like feature Spider-Man movies that star Spider-Man. So essentially the Sam Raimi trilogy, Into the Spider-Verse, the MCU movies, and the Amazing Spider-Man duos. But
the Mark Webb Spider-Man movies.
Oh boy, can't wait to get to that. Yeah, no, it was great. Like you said, Mysterio was awesome. Jake Gyllenhaal's great. total snack in this movie, but that's to be expected. He was really good. I think that they did Mysterio probably as well as they could have. And we'll get into it a little bit more in the spoilers. I'm assuming 99% of the people listening to this, shout out Brian Wong, have already seen this movie. So obviously we'll get into spoilers quickly. But yeah, 90 out of 100. It's great. It's really everything I wanted it to be. I'm a little disappointed in some places, but overall, it's great. Like a 90 out of 100 it's probably gonna be like one of my top 10 movies this year,
Right.
without a doubt. And like I said, most people listening have probably already seen it anyway. But if you haven't, go see it because it's Spider-Man. It's awesome. Like you said, Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man we've had, and I can say that confidently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean he's perfect. It's funny. Not really tangentially related. I really liked the guy who played Spider-Man in the PS4 game. I thought he did a really great job as an older Peter Parker, but I don't know if that necessarily counts. And then obviously, who's the actor in Into the Spider-Verse? Was from New Girl?
Oh, Jake Johnson.
Yeah, he did great. Also, as Peter Parker, but I don't know if those necessarily count. If we're just talking live action, I will say that Tom Holland just blows it out of the water.
Yeah, back to your point, though, a lot of inspiration in this movie, I feel like, from the Spider-Man video game as well.
Yeah, we I don't know if it's spoiler. So when we get to spoiler, we can touch more on that. I don't want, if someone's listening to this part and it's like, I don't want any info. I don't want to,
Well, let's wrap up spoiler. Like I said, I think a lot of people listening are going to be seeing it anyway. I would say to kind of wrap up spoiler free. I mean, go see it. Like I said, 90 out of 100. It's. I mean, if you want to fast forward to our list later, we'll get into that. But it's obviously top 5 out of, like, I don't know, what is there, 8 movies without a doubt. And I'm like really excited for whatever the next stage of Spider-Man's going to be. And also, I mean, the MCU, it's really like wide open. I really have as a whole, I have no idea what the MCU is going to do. But even like the Spider-Man storyline is left. I really don't know what they're doing with the Spider-Man storyline, but I'm excited for things to come. It's scary not having Iron Man and Captain America, but it's also exciting to really see the direction they're going to take.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess if I had to put a number on it, I'd say 93 out of 100 for me.
All right, yeah, so we're pretty much in the same ballpark.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, we are going into spoilers. So
spoilers, let's do it.
Do not listen past this.
Guy on the motorcycle who had trouble last week with Toy Story. Hang up quickly.
Yes, just please pull over, take the earpods out, and just no more. All right, Dylan. Spoilers. What are your first reactions in spoiler talk?
Yeah, so obviously the big thing is Mysterio revealing Spider-Man's identity at the end, while also we get to see Jonah Jameson,
played by J.K. Simmons. Holy shit! That was worth the price of admission.
It sure was. It was awesome. And speaking of the Spider-Man video game, kind of taking on like that whole Alex Jones modern, like the dailybugle.net. I don't even know if the Daily Bugle is probably a paper in this universe. It's probably really just like an online blog.
Yeah, with like a podcast, maybe a YouTube channel.
Makes sense. Like that I love that. It's probably one of the few things I have an issue with is the fact that Spider-Man's identity was revealed, because I guess I'm not fully ready for his story in this universe to take that turn. And obviously, especially before, maybe not so much now, but all these movies were really based in continuity, and the universe as a whole was the bigger picture rather than the individual storylines. But I was really kind of hoping for more Spider-Man, like just growing up and being like, I really thought we were gonna get Tom Holland maybe like 5 movies, and when you're starting on him out young, we end. Speaking of like the slightly older Spider-Man in the video games, I was hoping we get to that point when Spider-Man is, out of high school, out of college, and it's really tough now when you have maybe like a 15, 16-year-old Peter Parker whose identity is already revealed.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can think is they made the decision because like they need him to take more of a front-facing role with the absence of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
They need to like make him grow up fast.
I guess. I mean, it's actually something that I ended up knocking points for, because even the second time around, it's not something I really wanted out of this. And like I said, I love the movie, and it was, for the most part, everything I had hoped it would be. But his identity being revealed was not something I'm too happy about. For that reason I said earlier, I'm just not ready for the Spider-Man to take that leap yet. That's a very like a penultimate thing to do for his character. Like in the penultimate movie of the MCU for Spider-Man, like that would be something you would do then, maybe when he's older and he's he finally has things with Mary Jane, and he has a job and he does whatever he's doing. He's been Spider-Man for a while. You do that. And I don't know. Part of my assumption is that now they're. I mean, like I said, we have no idea where the MCU is going. Like I have literally zero idea what they're doing with Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and all that. And I mean, another thing we got too is the potential Nick Fury setting up that whole sword storyline.
Yeah, that's another thing. Well, one, I'd like to just say that funny that both Spider-Man movies, their mid-credit scenes have ended with "what the" and then cut off before dropping an F-bomb like that. Pretty funny. And then, yeah, so at the end of this movie, like I was saying in the non-spoiler section, this really is like the first, or I guess second movie after Captain Marvel, the first one to kind of really involve characters other than Captain Marvel. And it turns out Nick Fury and Maria Hill weren't even in this movie.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder how long that's been going on too.
Yeah,
because even the non Nick Fury mentions that he saw Spider-Man at the funeral, and that could just be Nick Fury telling him to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know. I mean, my guess is that Nick Fury has been there since. This is the first time he has been Nick Fury. Is my guess. I think it's just misdirection that they want you to think that Nick Fury has been Nick Fury for a while. But my guess is that he's been Nick Fury up until this movie. But who knows? I mean, honestly,
I'd
who knows?
prefer that, just because if that's not the case, then him, like, the whole pulling out the pager for Captain Marvel, that's kind of like, it makes more sense if it was actually Nick Fury doing
Correct.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm going to go, until they say otherwise, I'm going to go with this is the first movie that he has not been actually.
Yeah.
There.
I agree. And then also it makes you wonder too, like if the Skrulls were like who for the Skrulls were dusted also, you know?
Yeah.
Because maybe when they were dusted, they kind of like took over Shield. I think Talos is Ben Mendelsohn's character.
Talos.
Maybe he was because we don't know the state of Shield after that. Maybe he was. Maybe he was the running operations for a basically bleak Shield. I don't know, but it was interesting, and it's also interesting that they waited to throw that in there all the way in the very final post credit, like an actual post credit scene. So yeah, I personally I think they're setting up the whole sword storyline, but I guess we'll see. It's like I said, I'm excited / a little nervous where the MCU is going, but I have the utmost faith, obviously, because the MCU has basically done everything perfectly, so I can't doubt them now.
Right, and obviously there was a little bit of a hint earlier in the movie when Spider-Man was throwing out the names of the other heroes, and he was like, don't, like, just invoke her name.
Yeah.
And it's like, which was like, I remember thinking, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why would Nick Fury say that? But, and then there are other times in this movie where, like, Nick Fury, quote unquote, Nick Fury's getting the wool pulled over his eye, which would not happen, in my opinion, with Samuel L. Jackson's version of Nick Fury, you know?
Yeah, a lot of the mistakes Nick Fury and Maria Hill made in this movie make sense in hindsight because it's not actually really them. It's a bunch of Skrull, not imposters, because obviously they were doing that at Nick Fury's orders, but there's a bunch of basically inexperienced people doing a pretty major job, and Mysterio obviously was pretty fucking smart. I thought the way that they handled Mysterio with the drones using it as the illusions was great. That whole scene with Spider-Man and the illusions and like the dead Iron Man zombie coming up out of the ground, which that was unbelievable. That was awesome.
Shout out Marvel Zombies, by the way. I don't know if you ever read that, but I'll let you borrow it if you haven't.
I sure haven't, but if it's something like that, count me in.
Yeah, it's really great. But yeah, man, the illusions are great. I liked how they tied in Civil War to this movie, that tech. I think it's interesting. Obviously, Spider-Man's storyline is incredibly intertwined with Tony Stark's. And Tony Stark has a line where he's like, I create my own demons, in one of his movies. And then those demons, are trying to get revenge on him in all three of his main movies. And now it's like, okay, now he's still created demons that, for whatever reason, Peter Parker has to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, continuity. It's great because, I mean, Tony Stark as a hero was obviously awesome, and like he was one of the greatest heroes Earth ever known. He literally sacrificed his own life for the safety of humanity. But I mean, he was also like, as Tony Stark, as like the business mogul, he was like kind of a dickhead, and that was never a secret. That's who always Tony Stark was.
Right.
And he never no movie ever really tried to hide that. He was like, overall he's a good person, but as a business person he's a dickhead.
Right. And
it's always come back to bite him in the ass, and now it's come back to bite Shield and Spider-Man in the ass, and it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, that whole scene in the bar was like, up until that point, like, because everyone that went into this movie that knows who Mysterio is obviously had an inkling that Mysterio was going to be the bad guy, and that he was going to be maybe the Elementals with the illusions. Obviously, everyone who said that was correct.
Yeah.
The whole thing was that Mysterio was going to be doing it to make himself look like the hero, and obviously that was the case. And I just think it was really, really well done. Pretty much right up until he revealed that bar was like a hologram. I was like, holy shit, I think Mysterio might actually be like a good guy in this movie, and I think that they might actually be building him up, and maybe like later down the road they'll make him a bad guy. And like right as they fooled me is right when the reveal happened, and I thought that was really smart because I was really curious how they were going to do Mysterio and the illusions and all that, and like because Mysterio's just a guy, like he's done, like he has no his superpowers, like his smarts, and like that's the other thing too. In like a real fight, as we saw, in a physical fight, he's useless.
He's just a guy.
in the fight of brains. That's where he belongs, and it was great. The whole drone thing to match with modern times with Mysterio and I'm making it magic or illusions, while also like it was great. I'm not saying Jake Gyllenhaal is the best villain in the MCU because he's not, but I was very surprised with how awesome Mysterio was in this movie.
Yeah, he did a great job. They've really seemingly corrected their villain problem in the MCU, where it was mostly just Loki, but like the last like 5-6-ish movies have been pretty compelling.
Yep. Yeah, I mean they got obviously Thanos is all time. Killmonger and Black Panther was great, and then you can put Mysterio up there too. He was awesome. Like there was like you can't take it away from Jake Gyllenhaal and Mysterio in this movie. They were unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean he hit Spider-Man with the train at one point. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, Spider-Man had a rough movie overall. I mean, everything worked out for him in the end, but we're really finally seeing like it's Spider-Man's story as a whole in the MCU is basically like a coming of age story. Like because like I said, we are seeing Peter Parker grow up, and we're seeing him make mistakes, which a kid would make, and which is why I think they do everything so well in this. And that's part of my disappointment with them revealing he's Peter Parker now is that I do think that it's gonna like throw off everything that what you said. It's rushing everything. It's kind of it's taking out the next 10-15 years of Peter Parker's life, and he's now like a man. He has to be Spider-Man. Who knows where they're gonna go? But they can't do any like reversal. Like they can't keep reversing things of people dying like they did with the snap and all that. Like they have to go with this story now. They have to. Like I don't want next movie to be like, oh yeah, we can figure out how to reverse this, or like this has all been an illusion the whole time. Like I'm not down with that. Like if you revealed Peter Parker's identity, you have to roll with this now. Don't reverse it at the end of the next movie. Like oh, it was all like an illusion, or we somehow reversed it. Like, fortunately, even though I don't like it as much, like this is where we are, and I am curious and I trust where they're taking it.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how they handle it. Obviously, there's a bunch of different ways they could potentially get out of this, whether it's using a Skrill to just like, oh, pretend to be me, and then I'll swing by as Spider-Man, and people will be like, oh, I guess that's wrong.
Yep.
Because they didn't show his face in the Spider-Man costume or anything. They just had him saying, oh, it's this kid, Peter Parker, and then showed a picture of Peter Parker.
Yep.
So
it's also
yeah.
I mean, well, no, I was gonna say part of it too is that like speaking of Jonah Jameson and Alex Jones, like it makes it sound like that Jonah Jameson is kind of like he's like a kook, and like people like he might literally be like Alex Jones, where people think he might be full of shit.
Right.
So who knows who takes it serious? But also, you have Shield.
Yeah.
And you have Shield that basically runs the government. You have the government come out and be like, well, he's actually not Spider-Man. Like, it's up to the people to believe that, but it's not like the government as a whole. And like Nick Fury was probably the most powerful, said in this movie, most powerful, / dangerous man in the world. Is just gonna like let this go and like let it be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, everyone knows you're Spider-Man now. Like, sorry, kid.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Obviously, so it's funny because I feel like in the MCU, there's not too many heroes that actively hide their identity. I would say realistically, it's like Daredevil and Spider-Man. And does Black Panther also?
No,
everyone
knows what Black
yeah,
Panther
everyone
is.
knows who Black Panther is. So I like realistically, it's just them. Like Jessica Jones, she's just walking around. Shout out, that just dropped on Netflix. Very good. She's just walking around. She has her own detective agency.
Yeah.
Luke Cage, he's unbreakable, so it doesn't really matter if people know who he is. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if he could just like embraces it and then is like, yeah, no, but for real, I didn't kill Mysterio though. Well, like, oh, I did, but Mysterio also did all this, and it wasn't me.
Yeah, it's I fully trust that they know what they're doing, and the whole thing, like Spider-Man is kind of along with Batman, where like I'm not really interested in the storyline where people know their identity. I think it's much more interesting where they have to hide it, as we see in this movie, but also. It's super realistic in this movie when like MJ basically guesses that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like it makes a lot of sense, and it kind of beats like with like every other movies where like a normal person would be like, "Oh, you're a Spider-Man." It makes it much more realistic, which she would be like, "It makes sense. You're Spider-Man, Washington.
Yeah.
Like you're constantly running away." And even the kid that snapped back, that was younger when the snap happened, and is now trying to get with MJ in this movie. Even he's like, is nobody paying attention that Peter Parker's just like weird?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he's always gone and. Like, what the hell?
Like, he's very clearly Spider-Man. And I'm glad they did that, too. I was perfectly fine with MJ finding out. It was awesome. It adds another element to the team where, like, so it's not just Ned anymore. And, like, I love Zendaya as Mary Jane. She's awesome.
She's really good. Their chemistry is great.
I'm glad she was, and you knew she was going to be in this movie more, but obviously she wasn't the main interest in Spider-Man Homecoming. So I'm glad that she got to shine in this movie a little bit more. I think she's great as Mary Jane. Yeah, I did. I like that she found out, but then it also kind of like muffles that. It kind of muffles that she found out that it was him. Like, and it takes away like the stakes of that immediately when everyone finds out that he's Spider-Man.
Right.
So,
I think. I don't know. It would be interesting to obviously see where that goes. Yeah, I don't know, but like you said, she did a great job. Their chemistry's super great. I think. Oh yes, I remember what I was going to say. Sorry about that. The one good thing from the Green Lantern movie. Do you remember that movie? Did you see that?
I try not to.
Yeah. Well, somehow I've seen it like 10 times in my life. I don't know how. My life is hell. Just keep seeing Green Lantern when I don't want to.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's weird. Keep happening, but yeah. There's one part where he like comes in to Blake Lively's character, and she just immediately is like, "How?" He's like, "What? You know who I am?" And she's just like, "Yeah, your mask covers your cheekbones."
Yeah.
Like, that was the one good part, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a like parallel in this movie where Mary Jane's like, "Yeah, no, I know you're Spider-Man." He's just like, "What?" No.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense, and like the whole Night Monkey storyline was very funny too. That made me laugh the whole time. And I don't know if you caught JB Smoove, his character, the whole time how he was saying that the elementals were like products of witchcraft.
Yeah.
And then when Spider-Man put on the glasses and was scanning the bus and scanned the JB Smoove's character and it was like practices witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's like it's something small like that made me like laugh out loud.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a man of science the whole time, and then it says practices witchcraft.
Yeah, it's stuff like that makes me laugh, and it's stuff like that is what the MCU does really well. And so like I'm kind of bitching about the whole Spider-Man's identity being real, but like the movie as a whole is so good, and even the identity thing does not ruin it for me by any means. I give it a fucking 90 out of 100. And then what we'll get into shortly with rankings, obviously you'll see where I place this with other movies, but you know I'm very happy with it. I in no way, shape, or form thought it was gonna suck or be bad.
Mhm.
'Cause that's just not what the MCU does. But I mean, I did think that it could be a drop off from Homecoming, and maybe slightly it was for me. I don't
Mhm.
think for a lot of people it was, but for me it was slightly. Now that I've let it sit for a little while and seen it twice, but overall, like these two Spider-Man movies are just like Spider-Man in this universe, Tom Holland, everything is just fucking so well done. It's if you were a lifelong fan of Spider-Man, which I really wasn't a fan of Spider-Man or even like superheroes until like the Spider-Man movie came out in 2001. This is like if you've been waiting for Spider-Man, now that I've gotten into the comic books and like the games and all that, like this is the Spider-Man you've been waiting for.
Yeah. No, I mean, big year for Spider-Man. Honestly, like the game was amazing.
Has he ever
Probably
been
one of the
bigger?
best games. No. Well,
like even
I can't honestly say because I was like you. We were pretty young when the first one came out.
but even now, like Spider-Verse is like an all-time movie. Like
Right. Yeah.
Tom
Of
Holland
course.
is huge. Social media this day and age, the Avengers movies, like he steals all the scenes he's in the Avengers movies, and like he's now been in like 2 straight 90+ movies for pretty much the most of the population.
Right.
Spider-Man's taken him. Like I guess if I would have to say the most popular superheroes right now, I think 3, and maybe this is a ranking we could do later down the road. I would say probably the top 5. I would argue probably like 4 are MCU characters right now.
Oh yeah.
And then you have Batman because like I just don't think Batman's popularity ever fades. But MCU, it's and I think if you asked us 20 years ago, like if you asked us 20 years ago, I don't know if a lot of people even know who the fuck Iron Man was.
Oh no, definitely not.
You know, I certainly
Definitely
didn't.
not.
But
Yeah,
Spider-Man,
I mean, I read
Spider-Man-
comics when I was a kid, so I knew. But it's like, well, I remember when they're making an Iron Man movie. I was like, ooh, good luck.
Yeah, same. I was like I don't really have interest in this, and look where I am now, 11, 12
Exactly.
movies
Now
later.
we all like are crying in the theater over Iron Man fucking dying. So that's what's up. I would say, like I said, when I saw Endgame when Spider-Man came on screen, he got the biggest pop from the audience. Like people
Yep.
love Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
I love Spider-Man. I loved this movie.
Fucking stole the show in Civil War too.
Yep. It's so good. Such a good entrance for the character. Yeah, can we talk a little bit about the video game references? Obviously, we have the Alex Jones, like J. Jonah Jameson, but also when he's making his suits, the Spider-Man suit that was made for the game is one of the options for him to make,
Yeah, sure is.
which I thought was really cool.
That when he's swinging through the town to go pick up MJ, he pulls out his phone. He does
takes
like
a
a peace
selfie.
sign. Yeah, no. It's just great because that Spider-Man game was awesome. I've played it twice now, and it's just that's like that. Speaking of like you've been waiting for that Spider-Man game, like I felt like I was Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I now want to go play. I might go play that game tonight because it's just.
I actually was thinking about that. I was like, oh, I haven't platinum that. I should get back at that. If you have a PS4, like definitely, what are you doing? How have you not played that game already?
must have.
Like Sony, one of the best things they did with this series and with the ownership of Spider-Man was making an exclusive Spider-Man video game and knocking it out of the park. All right, so Dylan, do you want to get into the rankings of all of the theatrical Spider-Man movies?
I'm ready. I'm not sure how you prepared. I actually wrote down my scores for each one. And I kind of went by that. I'm actually gonna go worst to first. If
Okay,
that's,
yeah.
it's okay with you.
That's
Uh,
I guarantee I know what the worst one for you is.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, so Into the Spider-Verse is my worst at number 7. No, so there's 8 actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, very obviously, my worst by far, without question, is Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's hot garbage.
I have it at a 40 out of 100, and my drop off from my 5th movie down to my from 6 down, it's pretty atrocious in terms of the drop off from the other movies. But yeah, at number 8 for me, Amazing Spider-Man 2, 40 out of 100, and I think 40 out of 100 is being generous. That movie fucking sucked.
Yeah, dude. So disappointing.
Jamie Foxx, that whole Electro, fucking awful. Them basically like putting Norman Osborn in there and then giving him like Green Goblin cancer and killing him off without ever doing Green Goblin, fucking stupid. And the one thing that I always liked about the Amazing Spider-Man movies
Mhm.
was the chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield.
Mhm.
And I really didn't. I thought Andrew Garfield was a shit Peter Parker because it made him too cool and too sexy. But I thought
Yeah.
he was a pretty good Spider-Man overall.
Yeah, no, exactly. I thought he's such a good Spider-Man, like when he's in the suit.
And I really liked their chemistry together. And actually, I remember really looking forward to this movie when it came out because I really didn't mind the first Amazing Spider-Man. And they actually had cast Shailene Woodley, if anybody knows who that actress is, as Mary Jane in this movie.
Right.
Which obviously at the end of this movie, Gwen Stacy dies,
Yeah.
which was like it's another shit wicked dumb death in that movie. But they ended up cutting her completely. Like they cut the whole Mary Jane storyline, and I think they kind of knew like this thing is terrible. It's not going anywhere, and that's it. But yeah.
Well, they were like, "Hey, remember how we screwed up Spider-Man 3 by putting a ton of villains in it? Same thing. This movie,
Yeah.
same thing."
Awful. It was just an awful movie.
Yeah, and they were in a weird spot because I know they were trying to compete with the MCU at the time. They actually asked for the Amazing Spider-Man 1 if they could put Avengers Tower in the background, and Marvel was like, "No, fuck no, you're not allowed." And then so they're like, "Okay, well we need to do something, so let's make a Sinister Six movie," and they tried to like basically force that into. This
Oh my
movie.
god, the ultimate force, especially because I think the postcard scene in that movie is them showing like Vulture's wings, Doc Ock's like arms and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, fucking this movie. We've already talked about this movie more than it deserves to be talked about.
Yeah.
So that's my number 8.
Yeah, that's my number 8 as well. I think there's no discussion.
Yeah,
It's just bad. I remember being in the theater halfway through it, like just being like, "Yeah, this sucks. God damn it!"
It was
like,
yeah. I'm glad you didn't put anything about that. All right, yeah, my number. Why don't you go? We'll switch off for who goes first. You can go first for number 7.
all right. Well, number 7 I just mentioned. It has to be the Raimi Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
Just-
Number 7 for
Just
me
not
also.
great. Jenny has actually never seen that movie, so the other day I was talking to her cousin about the dance scene, and Jenny's like, "What? What are you talking about? Spider-Man has a weird dance. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense."
You want
And I
Spider-Man.
pulled it up on YouTube, and she was just like, "I can't believe this is in a movie."
So like in high, so I have it at number 7 also, and I gave it a 69 out of 100 because I'm still putting it at technically certified fresh. Although I don't know if it's my certified fresh, 69 or above. 69, nice.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, it's tough because this movie became super memeable down the road.
Yeah, that's really the best part now.
I find myself watching it just to laugh, and like if it's on, I'll watch it. So I'd be lying if I said it's an awful movie. It's not good. It's by no means good. They put Venom in it, and Venom's fucking Topher Grace. Like that's the Venom we wanted. Topher fucking Grace. Yeah, it's by
bad.
no means good, but it's not nearly as awful as Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not by a long shot. It's silly, like you said. It has a lot of villains in it. Has Sandman, it has Venom, it has Hobgoblin, James Franco. It has emo Spider-Man. It's just, yeah, it's not good. It's not awful. It's just not good.
Yeah, I mean, black suit Spider-Man is cool. Like the design and stuff is cool, but it just Peter is such a fucking jerk too when he's like with the Venom symbiote. It's just awful. I know he's supposed to be, but it's just bad.
I think it's because Tobey Maguire apparently is like a huge dickhead. in real life, too.
Yeah, well, you think he would have been able to pull it off better instead of just being completely unbearable. Maybe just too real. He's like that awful.
Anybody who College Game with Jessica Chastain, Player X, who's played by Michael Cera, is supposed to be Tobey Maguire because he's addicted to gambling and he's a complete fucking asshole.
Oh,
So
man.
I hear.
All right, so what about number 6?
Number 6 for me, I have Amazing Spider-Man. Number 6, 70 out of 100 for me. Like I said, the drop off from my number 5 to my 6, 7, and 8 is pretty high, but yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 70, it's fine. Like I said, I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's chemistry. I thought it was great. It was a nice little love story. They made Peter Parker a little too sexy.
Right.
We saw Uncle Ben die again, which is it Martin Sheen
Yep.
or yep, yeah, but he's sure, yeah, he was fine. The movie as a whole is fine.
Mhm.
We get Dennis
Dennis
Leary.
Leary, yeah. Oh, I
As,
forgot to mention Dennis Leary's disapproving ghost in the background of Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's the only
Oh
redeeming
Jesus
quality of the
fucking
movie.
Christ! I forgot all about that. Yeah. Oh man.
It's like they're just we didn't have a scene where they're just hooking up and Dennis Leary's just standing in the corner shaking his head. That's what we
Oh,
that would have made the movie actually better.
Yeah. So I have it as 70. Like it's something like I haven't seen it in a couple of years. Like if it was put on again, I'd probably watch it. But like I don't know, it's nothing special. It's not bad. It's not excellent. It's fine. It's a fine movie.
Yeah, I actually have the Amazing Spider-Man in this spot as well.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I thought, like I said, I thought huge improvement in terms of Spider-Man, but a downgrade in terms of Peter Parker, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I guess, yeah, there's not much more to say about that. Dr. Connors, like we said, it's kind of weird because it almost is a sequel to Spider-Man 3 in the sense that they were clearly setting up Dr. Connors in Spider-Man 3
Yep.
to be the bad guy. But yeah, it's just like an average movie. But
Yeah, it's fine. It's the definition of average. It's an average superhero movie. Yeah. Which is why like it was probably so passable back then, is because there was so many bad and so many average people saw it, and we were just like, yeah, it's fine. Sure.
yeah, it was like, I think it came out during Phase 2, so where like a little bit of going on in the MCU with like Thor, The
Yep.
Dark World, and so it's just like, yeah, this is what it is. It's Spider-Man.
Iron Man 3, yeah, which was pretty mixed. Yeah, right around that whole time. Yeah.
All right, so if we're gonna move on to number 5, is it my turn at this point?
It is.
All right, at number 5, I had the original Spider-Man.
Interesting. Okay.
Obviously, it's good. We probably wouldn't have superhero movies as we know them now without X-Men and Spider-Man coming out. I do think, in retrospect, everyone looks way too fucking old to be in high school in this movie. Like, when I
Yeah.
go back and watch it, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, Tobey Maguire looks like a middle-aged man. What do you think?
Yeah, so my number 5 is actually Spider-Man 2. I have it at a 85 out of 100, and it's pretty much everything between my 1 and 5 is all between 85 and 100, obviously. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 actually, like, I loved it, and the more I've watched it, it's kind of fallen off. I think it's a great movie. 85 of 100 is obviously nothing to frown upon. But I loved it. But like I said, I guess if I'm comparing my top 5, Spider-Man 2 is there. I will certainly have more to talk about for Spider-Man 1 further up on my list, though. But I agree. Everyone was super old, and Tobey Maguire was like fucking 30. Kristen Dunst was maybe like 30 also.
Yeah,
Joe
yeah,
Mentaliglio, I don't know how you say his last name, as is it Flash Thompson?
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of oldies, but Spider-Man brought me my Norman Osborn, my bae, Willem Dafoe, which all-time role, but I'll get into that.
Yeah, obviously I liked him a lot. The Green Goblin armor was kind of weird, but
Oh, dude, it's so good.
yeah.
So save the rest. We'll get into it because it's coming up. It's coming up for me.
And the only time a villain has been killed by a shot to the dick
Oh man,
in comic book movie history.
jeez. My number 4 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Is my number 4. We've kind of already went over it. I gave it a 90 out of 100, and yeah, it's great. 90 out of 100. That's nothing to shine about. It kind of shows, at least in my opinion, how good these other 3 movies have been. But Spider-Man Far From Home is my number 4 overall.
Yeah, that is actually my number 4 as well. I thought it was a really great standalone movie. I didn't see it in theaters for some reason. I ended up renting it and being like, whoa, this was dumb.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Sorry, not Far From Home. Jesus, I have Homecoming, not Far From Home.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, guys, I'm sick. Sorry about that. We'll blame it on that, not just my general stupidity. Sorry, yeah, I have Homecoming.
It's okay. I was about to say, like, we quite literally just talked about you're lying. You're lying on the pod right now. Um,
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, sorry. I had Homecoming. I thought Homecoming was really good. I wish I had seen it in theaters, but I saw it at home. A great introduction to a standalone story for Peter Parker, and yeah, man, maybe recency bias is making Far From Home. Maybe also just seeing Mysterio in a movie has put it up for me. But yeah, so what is it? My turn next.
sure is. My number three is the original Spider-Man from 2001. Love, love that. Like I said, it brought me Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn. It truly holds a special place in my heart, and that's probably why I have it as high as a 90. It's a movie I'll watch every single time it's on. I love Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn. I like the cheesiness of it. Kristen Dunst and her hard nipples just hanging out there in that kissing raining scene, which like a little 8-year-old like me, boing.
Yeah, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, no, I love that movie, and it's I obviously don't recognize it as the best Spider-Man movie, but it's will forever hold a special place in my heart. Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man is just so silly, and like I personally think he just doesn't really fit the role because he was 40 when he made it. But that movie is just it's everything to me. I love that movie.
Mhm.
Now I give it a 90 out of or 91 out of 100.
Right. So are we on to number 2 now?
Number two, yep. Number two for me is Spider-Man: Homecoming. A sitting pretty at a 95 out of 100. I've seen this movie probably no less than like 10 times at least, and I'm usually a victim to recency bias as well. But I think because I've really sat down and like talked to some people about Spider-Man and like I really thought about it. Homecoming was great to me. Michael Keaton as Vulture was just phenomenal. I'd probably give him an edge over Jake Gyllenhaal. And he was just, I mean, he was like, he kind of like scared you too. Like Jake Gyllenhaal, like he was nice and he was apologetic to Spider-Man. Like pretty much when Michael Keaton first found out that Tom Holland was Spider-Man, he was like, I'm going to fucking kill you, kid.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, Mysterio wasn't thrilled that he would have to kill Peter Parker.
Yep.
Michael Keaton was like, "Yo, no, obviously I have to kill this kid. I don't give
No, I
a
mean-
shit."
And Mysterio was obviously more detrimental to Spider-Man because he revealed Spider-Man's identity, and Vulture ended up not doing that. But this whole movie was great. Yeah, I mean, this was like the Spider-Man we had been waiting for a while because we had gotten stinkers like Spider-Man 3 and the Amazing Spider-Man series and all that. This movie was like nearly perfect. I'm not gonna say it was as close to perfect as you can get because the movie I have next is as close to perfect as you can get, but. Yeah, Spider-Man: Homecoming for me is my number 2 all-time favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah, for me, Spider-Man 2. I think it's the most important superhero movie in terms of what really like established them as mainstream.
Yep.
Obviously, made a ton of money. Doc Ock is fucking awesome in this movie.
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff where he kind of fights and gets punched by Spider-Man, and let me just say, guys, you're a normal human. You're gonna fucking die if Spider-Man punches you. So that's kind of weird, but I love this movie.
Yeah, like I said, it's at my number 5, but pretty much between my number 5, 4, and 3, there's only a 6-point difference between all those movies. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is probably like a top 15 superhero movie for me, without a doubt. It probably even cracks the top 10. It also kind of just shows the power Spider-Man has over me.
It's so good.
I mean, Spider-Man 2 is just it's a Doc Ock. We get to see the Hobgoblin, Harry Osborn, kind of like turn into to that. We see fucking the ending of Spider-Man 2 also, where Peter finally reveals his identity to MJ.
Yep.
And he finally has the girl after basically 2 movies of not having her.
And James Franco finds out his identity too, and he can't kill him in that moment.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was like a crazy, like dark moment, and kind of like, yeah, I killed your dad, but also he was crazy, but I still feel really bad.
Yeah. Even talking about it right now makes me want to like go and watch it. It's there's and we both have the same number 1 now, which I just realized.
Oh well, dude, come on. Of course we were both gonna have this at number 1.
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, both of our number 1s. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh my god, dude, this movie is fucking amazing.
I have it at a 99 out of 100. It's actually tied with Avengers for my highest rated movie in the past like 5 years. Yeah, Avengers. I mean, Spider-Man Spider-Verse is like as close to a perfect movie as you can get. I don't think you can give any movie 100 out of 100, just because I don't think there's any movie that's like perfect.
Right.
But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is as perfect as you can get. It's the animation in it is unbelievable. It's next level. Like you said, the voice acting in it. They have so many fucking people in it. Like Liev Schreiber as Kingpin. We have Chris Pine as like the actual
As Peter
hero
Parker,
Spider-Man. We have Jake Johnson, like you said. There's Nick Cage, John Mulaney.
I like to think Jake Johnson is playing Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And that's just in my own head. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I like to think.
So I think like the Chris Pine one was more playing Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because he kind of references like the whole emo stage and like the punching of the car and all that. But yeah, this movie is just it's so good. I was blown away when I saw it in the movie theater. It's just unbelievable. It was like I'm so glad I won animated movie of the year. I really think it should have been nominated for like an Oscar for best movie of the year. It's I said Avengers Endgame was my all-time favorite superhero movie for live actions. But if we're putting like everything as a whole, this is probably right there with Dark Knight and Avengers Endgame if we're including the animation, because this movie is just it's perfect. It's nearly perfect. It's a 99 out of 100 for me without a doubt. It's like a 99.9 out of 100. Perfect.
Yeah, and I think it also introduced Miles Morales to a wide audience, which I think is good because I think Miles is a really awesome character.
Yep. Him and Jake Johnson's Spider-Man's chemistry was awesome. Just everything about this movie. Dude.
And we got Spider-Gwen also.
Spider-Gwen, fucking awesome.
So good.
We're going to get more of her. She's going to get her own movie. Everything, the humor in it was awesome. Like the animation, like you feeling you're in a live action comic book. It was just the music, fucking music was unbelievable. Just everything's so good. It's like bringing a tear to my eye just talking about it. It's that good of a movie. It's without a doubt the best Spider-Man movie for me. And it's like it's a top 3 best overall superhero movies if we're counting like everything.
Yeah, man, I agree. So what else do we want to talk about before we close this one out?
I mean, for me, I think that's it. I think we're all Spider-Man out. That's Spider-Man, the Spider-Man episode.
Yeah, so if somehow you're here and you haven't watched the movie, go see Far From Home. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but I guess it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. As of recording this, we have crossed 1,000 subscribers, Dylan.
1,000.
We fucking did it. So thank you. Thank you for that. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at WG Everything, on Instagram on Wicked Good Everything. Dylan, where can they find you online?
DJ Clubber Lang with 2 B's, spelled exactly as it sounds. DJ Clubber Lang. What I will say for this pod, which I think is what you might have been trying to get me to allude to, we have a little surprise coming.
Yes.
Might be next episode, might be 2 episodes from now, but got a little surprise coming here.
Yeah, I mean, we have it set up, almost. You'll see. I think you guys will like it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It feels very official, and it feels very like the right move for this pod. I do want to say shout out Brian Wong. We got to end the episode like that.
Yes, of course.
I will also say I think next week we're going to try and cover Stranger Things and do a recap and all that. You got to finally see it, but Brian, you got to go get better. You're gonna get some rest. You got a big day tomorrow.
I do. I need to.
You've been fucking coughing all over the place. Poor Brian Wong, who talked about everyone coughing and breathing and all that. He's just, and that guy. Oh, don't let that guy on the YouTube page hear this episode. Oh God, he thinks you're gonna die tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I was able to mute my mic enough and it's not too distracting. But if it is, I apologize, everybody. And yeah, so make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. Maybe even leave us a good review. That'd be pretty nice.
That'd be nice. That'd be very nice if I remember.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your day.
Cheerio. Adios, amigos.